All right. All right, so agenda item number one. Can I show you the membrane ports just to give you some
Yeah. Yeah.
video?
I don't even charge you for that. Just show me what you got.
Yeah, let's see here. Bring up IntelliJ.
Yeah, I was curious if you guys got any further on that. I hadn't heard anything.
Oh no, I just got super. I kind of blew my fun budget.
Yeah.
So
I needed to get back to writing.
yeah,
You're very late. You're very late book.
oh, exactly. Yeah, I think yeah, too much on that would have been detected by the powers that be, and the would involve some pain.
Yeah.
Okay, you can see my
Yep. All good.
okay, and then there's the yeah, I gotta tell you, this I can't fully justify why I'm so intrigued by this, but there are times where I don't want to deploy something to, Cloud Run, and I don't want to have to spin up a set shadow JS. So what I showed you in that video was I had to fire up the app manually. I had to load the report manually, but then now it's actually taking next page events, I think. Oh yeah, there we go. Prior page, go to page, and I think
okay, so what you're showing me on the left there is basically the UI quote rendering.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And so right now I'm just manually.
But you're using DOM div. You're not actually using anything.
Oh, I am. No, I'm using the membrane.
Oh, I see. All right, there we go.
So the next step is like use body item. Next step is to change the report rendering. So it's actually using membrane components. So I think, hang on, just let me check. Story.
And of course you could make a rad plugin for the UI so you wouldn't have to manually type the UI in, but yeah, of course.
Yeah, exactly. So whatever the semantic UI equivalent is, that's plugin. Is that right?
Yeah. It just gets set on the Fulcro application so that rad can find the UI elements to call. Yeah.
And I think what happens here if I do this? Oh yeah. Okay. So I'm just, I changed this and I got that. So I'm freaking.
How's your reload working? I'm curious about that because you're doing closure here, right?
I'm in closure. Yeah. How is that working? How is that working? In fact, I showed this in the video. I don't know.
Looks like you've got some sort of plugin watching for file changes or something.
Oh yes, this reload something. Yeah, something's something's detecting something, right? And it triggers a refresh. So anyway,
cool.
And then the ugly parts that someday, Tony, I would love to. What I'll probably do is I'll probably Fulcro rad unless we have a better idea. Where I made a membrane UI HTTP remote.
That's all you got to do. You just make a remote,
Right. And I just like to walk through with you someday and just confirm the sanity of what I did. I mean, it works. There's probably I'm not sure how hacky it is, but I mean, I think it's correct enough. But I would love to actually figure out how to get it actually correct.
And you're actually hitting network resources.
I am.
Okay. Yep.
I took out all the JavaScript asynchronous. Well, I don't even remember anymore. Anyway, so
yeah, I mean, it's not that hard. It just hands you a couple of callbacks and you call them, right?
Yes. Yeah. When you say not that hard, it did feel pretty awesome. But this was felt pretty kick-ass to get this running.
Yeah, anyway. I mean, the Fulcro interface is just a matter of it hands you the query and 2 callbacks, and you call a callback with the data that matches the query. I mean, there's nothing complicated about that. Yes, there might be a bunch of twiddling that you have to do with some stupid API to
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But the poor man's version doesn't do the progress stuff and doesn't do the,
But flipping awesome. I mean, I love the idea of just putting this into an Uber jar, just running it, with on the command line, and pretty freaking cool. All right, so that's
Or see if
that.
you can compile it with Growl and make a millisecond startup time executable.
Maybe someday, like that's number 200 on the list.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I guess this reflection, I guess what I try to share in the video is it's actually pretty fun and gratifying to sort of change the very bottom at the HTTP remote, change the very top, swapping out the UI element. That was wild.
Yeah.
It was kudos to you.
Cool.
All right, so let's that way. Number 2, modify reports. All right, so
okay, so let me review. You're telling me that I added to DefSC report.
Oh.
In report options, page size can be a function of UISM. Okay, yeah, that works.
Yeah. Okay, let's see here. So,
now my first question is, do you want there to be a global application setting for page size, or do you want it to be report local?
let's do report local.
Okay.
I'll you know what? Now that you mention it, whatever's simpler. Maybe I'm thinking global, having it live in a
They're
bar.
both relatively easy. Let me think. So let's do it local for now. That'll be easy enough.
Seriously? All right.
Yeah. So if you
so can I show you the report?
real quick? Sure.
Just to give you a shape of the data. So actually just a little bit of context. So we're on this conference called the DevOps Enterprise Summit, 1,500 videos, say 700 speakers. And I've always wanted to be able to say, all right, how many of them are from banks? And so for 5-6 years, I've just imagined a day where I would sit down and be able to sort of clean up the data, get the NAICS code, right?
Yeah.
And so this is actually what I was using OpenAI for. It was just pretty freaking awesome. Just send it a prompt saying, hey, here's some information about the company, make some guesses on the NAICS code, and vote on, pick the best one. And so this is actually what that's showing. And behind that is using this trick that last time I reached out to you, I think was, all right, help me change the body item so that I can kind of do a sub report inside.
Yep.
Really sub report, but it's just kind of a custom.
Yeah.
Yep. And yes.
Nested details. Yeah.
Details, yes. And then ideally, I would just love to be able to, for this, be able to patch up the data. So click here. I think this might bring up a form, and it's always empty. So I'm thinking I have a gross misunderstanding of like how forms are hooked up. But before we do that, like let's add a little drop-down box or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me see. I'm trying to remember what controls I have in. So go to the code of the report.
Yep. And then page size.
Yeah. So you've got 1,000 there.
Yeah. So that I'm just guessing that we're going to replace this with a lambda.
Yeah. So yeah, and it's a function of UISMN, but let's add the control first.
Okay.
So go back to there and go up to RO control. You don't have any RO controls. Okay. So let's add an RO controls key if you don't have one.
Okay.
And that's a map. And let's see now. Controls.
Your documentation is always so superb.
So the key here, let's just call it colon page hyphen size. And then in a submap,
page size, is that what you said?
sure, that'll work. I would use a single colon there.
Yeah, can you explain your choice?
So in this case, this is going to be kind of local to the report, and I'm
Yep.
not going to use it externally at all. So I can just use a simple keyword, right? It's sort of like a local variable versus a global, it's just like I don't need to namespace it.
Got it.
So say colon local question mark true.
Local question mark true.
Yeah.
Uh,
That'll put it in the local parameters as opposed to normalizing it. The reason that exists, no, just true, not the
Yep.
function true, not the predicate.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead and give it a label, page size. That's fine. In RAD, controls can be local or global. And a global control is the default. And the control gets normalized into global app state so that two reports on the screen at the same time could share controls. So if you change the control on one, it affects both reports.
Huh.
So you can make a dashboard, right? Where it's like you've got a date range or something. You want the start date and the end date to be master controls at the top that all the things respond to.
Got it. I did not ever know that. Okay.
So by saying local true, we'll get the control in our local parameters of the report, and that'll make them a little easier to find.
Roger.
Okay. Now the thing I don't remember, and this is how we figure it out. Well, I don't know if we're going to have an action or not. We probably are. Almost certainly are. It could be on change. I don't remember, but take that keyword out because you got a typo now.
Yeah.
Weird. How come you had an extra curly brace there?
Who knows? I'm gonna go hunting around for a drop-down box.
Oh no. This is not how you do it.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you to do it. Don't flitter on me.
All right. Yeah.
Okay.
Locked in.
If you go to your client CLJS file, turn on my annotation tools.
Client CLJS is what you're talking about?
Yeah, that guy.
Weird. Oh, I'm stuck. Okay.
Okay, and somewhere in here, you're going to have install the RAD stuff, right? You're going to set up RAD. Here we go. Install UI controls. Jump to that. Actually, that map is what you want. That map right there. Yep. Jump to that. Okay, so scroll down here a little bit, and you can see for this plugin, right? This is the controls that are defined by the plugin. This is the list of predefined form controls, right? So for editing things in a form based on data type, style, and then there's the function that does it. Report style to layout. This is how you could set different styles for laying out your reports. You can, of course, extend these maps. And so this guy is report control style to control. And oh no, sorry, that's the control layout.
Okay.
What we're looking for is control type style control. This guy. All right. So this guy says we've got for Boolean, strings, instance, picker, and button. So here you want a picker. So let's go look at this render control.
Actually, a Boolean, is that like a
just a checkbox? Yeah, a true or false control.
String is like a
you can type something into it. Yep.
Is this a calendar thing or
yeah, instant would be it's going to take a date time, or if you tell it the style is starting date, it'll just give you the date that's picked, but midnight on that date, localized to your time zone, and ending date will give you midnight on the next day, localized to your time zone, and this will give you the date that they pick at noon in your time zone.
Okay.
The configured time zone of the date time support in RAD, right? Because you can tell it what time zone the user's in, because they might not be in the time zone that your application is running on a server in, right?
Lord, yes. Button. Okay.
So let's look at the picker, the render control here, so I can remind myself of how it works. Okay, so simple picker takes options, and so you just say PO current picker options. Oh, this loads picker options. So this lets you load options from the server.
Okay.
If there's a query key. If there's not a query key, then I think you can just give it. So here's the options. The options come from here, which can be options. So you can just give it the options. Great. Okay, so let's go back to your code. And here, tell it type picker, colon picker.
Right.
Yep. And enter. And then options, colon options, and then a vector. And each of those vectors will be a map with text as a keyword. And what you want it to show, like 10 or whatever, and then a value that will be the value that gets picked when they pick that. So put a couple of those in there. Okay, save that. Let's go look at the UI.
Roger.
A big page size.
Yeah. Okay. Wait a minute. What? No.
All right. So now you click on that and you should be able to pick one of them.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. So now we've got the value. And by the way, these controls are reified into this encoded parameter in the URL. So if you were to use that as a bookmark, it would remember what page size you were using.
That's so cool. Okay, wait. And so I'm guessing that's.
So yeah. So now in the report, in the whichever one this is, company's report, I guess. In the UI parameters.
Oh, that's so cool.
Page size is 100.
Wait.
Okay. Now, if you hadn't made that local, it would have been normalized into a different place in the app state database. It would have been in this controls ID namespace. This is where it puts the global controls, and that's why you would give them right namespaced keywords, because they're going to be like up there in the top.
Got it. Okay, that's flipping.
I think that's where it puts them.
Roger.
Anyway.
Okay.
And that's how it shares them across controls. Okay, so now let's change. Let's write your page size function. Okay, and I'm just giving you UISM env here. And so here's how we figure this out. So jump to scroll up a bit and jump to DefSC report. Okay, and the reason I'm taking you in here is I don't remember off the top of my head what the state machine looks like. So search for def state machine. There you go. All right, so this is the thing that runs the report. Now, it probably has an alias for the parameters. Bingo.
Okay.
Right, so all you have to do is come back into your function. And in here, let's log out. Let's make your page size lambda, and it'll take an env, and then just do a log / debug of, or a log info of open paren UISM / you're calling a function here.
Standby. Oh yeah, UISM.
Yeah, /
sorry, hang on.
When do you? Yep.
Just trying to avoid too much reformatting right now. Yep.
Alias value, I think. Yeah. And then the env, and then colon parameters. And then import the log namespace so you can.
Oh, come on, I really.
Yep, Timber isn't here.
Is it that?
Yep, that one. Okay, save that, and then return from that function, 100. It's just like not do anything just yet. Okay, so let's go over to your thing and open the JS console so you can see what's going on there. All right, change your page size. Oh, we've got to run the report for the which thing do we have to do? I mean, it will grab it once, right? CC page size.
Yeah, that's great.
right? So all you have to do is take colon page size out of that. So change your log info to colon page size of that env, and you're done.
Yeah.
Well, you're not quite done. There's an additional thing we've got to do. Nope, 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 no, no, no. Colon page size right here.
All right, stand by. Oh,
Instead of log info, just put no. Instead of the function log info, use the keyword page size.
yeah. Okay, got it. Hang on. I'm getting there.
Oh, okay. Got it. Got it. There you go. Now the thing that we don't have, and we're going to jump back to that that semantic UI control namespace.
Oh, that's amazing. That, by the way, that worked. Wait.
Well, it's not letting you change it yet.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it is changing it, but the problem is the report's not refiltering the rows. It's not doing anything to repaginate. Right.
Yes.
So go back to the report namespace here, or actually not that one, the pickers namespace where we were at. Okay. So this guy has an on change, and it says, when you define an on change, I'll call it.
Yeah, okay.
Or when you define an action, I'll call it. Right. So we can use either one of those, action or on change. It doesn't matter. On change is going to get the value, which we don't care about. And action is just like a, let me know it happened. So let's go back to your code.
Okay.
Your company's form. And so in the action of this guy,
that.
yep, that's going to be a function of this, like fn this. Okay. Right. This guy you're going to call report slash try filter. Yeah, and pass it this. There we go. The reason I called filter instead of run is if you call run, it's going to do all the network overhead.
Yeah.
If you call sort, it'll do the sort, then the filter, then the paginate. If you call filter to do filter, then paginate. I don't think I have a direct call for just doing paginate. So it does the report in phases. It loads the raw rows, then it filters them actually, then it sorts them, then it paginates.
Load, sort.
Filter. No, filters first, because sort's expensive, right? So get rid of the rows you can't see, then sort what's left, then paginate whatever is left from that, right? So to actually sort rows would probably be, well, but I think sort takes a column, like it wants you to tell it which column you want to change sorting to. So we don't want to change the sorting. So that's probably the easiest way to refresh it without reloading it.
Oh my gosh, this is great. Okay, this is flipping awesome. That's great. Is there an easy way to what's the easiest way to sort of cram down the
do an RO control layout?
Yes, another
and I think that's a vector of vectors like in forms.
Oh, wait.
Oh no, it takes action buttons and inputs. Yeah, so give it a map with inputs in it. Do you already have this? Because it's not showing the refresh button, and I thought the default showed the refresh button. I guess not. Okay.
So with inputs in it, is that what you said?
Yeah, colon inputs, and then it's just like a form.
Inputs with the vector vectors.
Yep. And so what I would do is I'd say colon page size.
Yep.
And then space colon unused, just some garbage keyword. And that'll cause it to think it should use 2 columns, and then it won't find a control for the second column, so it won't render anything there.
Oh, in fact, I think I've seen you use like colon star or colon
whatever. Yeah, colon star would be fine. Yeah, whatever. Just some garbage keyword.
Got it. So this is a way to.
Yeah, it's a dirty hack.
Love it. Okay, great. Oh man, I love it. Okay. That's super happy making let's see here. So close that window. This window, close this window, close this window.
The main takeaway is, if you want something to be in the controls, go and look at the predefined controls and then look at their code and see what options they support. Like this, because the plugin's going to define what's available.
That's super awesome. Okay,
Rad
so
itself doesn't constrain that. I mean, it sort of gives you some, examples, but that's about all they're meant to be. It's just like, all right,
all right,
here's a few that are super useful.
That's flipping awesome. We'll see here. So to remove a record. I actually
Remove a record as in delete one of the rows.
Yeah. Yes. So in fact, I think maybe let's just do this through forms. Actually, can you give me a second to think out loud?
Sure.
So if I weren't doing forms, okay, if I had Magic Wand, I'd be able to click on one of these, it would bring up a form and I could delete it there, right? And this would expose some
I mean, you can, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can do anything you want. In terms of what Rad supports easily, like, form, having a delete on the form itself puts you in a weird position because you're trying to ask a thing whose data is in state to do a thing that causes that data in state to disappear. And then you have a weird rendering.
So forms, let's not use forms,
right?
It's not designed for.
So I typically put the remove on the report, right? You got the list of the things. I want to delete this one,
Yeah. Okay. So can we do that? How about we do that? Okay, so can you help me think through? Yeah, I'll make a button and then make a mutation to remove it. And then like what does that mutation what would that mutation do? Like I've seen in your seed, I cannot. So let me click on this. So this brings up a form and it's gonna blank. Nope. Maybe it's in this one.
Yeah, let me see your. Yeah, let me see what you're doing there that's screwing up, that's causing that to. I mean, is it giving you an error in the console, the JS console there?
I think so. Oh,
yeah, okay, you got that kind of, but that was from the table. So you're doing something in your table where you're not including React keys. All right.
Okay.
And then, okay, so you're getting this form, and this is edit company.
Yep.
Okay, and what did you send as a function? What did you call there on that column of the table?
Yeah, I think.
I mean, you can look at Fulcro inspect, and when you click on it, you'll see what it does.
Under transactions.
In transactions, yeah. Why don't you clear that and cancel this and do it again, and then we'll have and then clear it again, maybe. Oh, looks like you don't have you don't have anything set for where to go to. Hold on, before you click on that. All right, that's fine. Okay, so report.
So I can see, just to fill you in, right? I mean, I can see the resolver being called and
video library ID. Well, how is that a company? Video library is a company?
I just hacked something together. I'll switch this out.
Okay.
This is just a match kind of a, when you start a project and you just jumping in.
Yeah. So you said you got a form link.
Yep.
On company name that goes to company form. What does company form look like? That's wrong. Unless that's video library /ID.
Well, okay, so here's the model.
Oh. Here, hold on. Let's fix a few things.
Okay, yeah.
click on def adder here.
Yep.
And do a Command Shift A and say resolve.
Command Shift. Oh, okay. Talking about
Yeah,
resolve
action. Yeah, resolve that as def.
as def.
Yep, as def. That'll get rid of all your red underlines. And then why is this a string? Because that's just what it is. It's just a string.
It's actually a map, but
It's a map.
I think so. It's maybe it's a string.
So
Here, let's here. Give me a second here. Let's take a look.
and does your resolver work for that?
Well, it depends.
Here,
So
go to the EQL tab here.
it is a string. Yeah. Yeah.
Reload the index.
Okay.
And write a query here. So put a join in that query vector.
I can tell you that does not work.
Then that's why the form doesn't work.
Okay, so let's it's this guy. Right?
Exactly. Story, or in this case, you want the video library ID, right? You want the one out of.
What's wrong there?
I don't know, dip by your way. Oh, you've got the bracket and you don't even need an additional bracket outside of it, square bracket. Queries are vectors. There you go.
Queries are vectors.
Okay, what I wanted you to pull was from this network tab. Click on that one.
Yep.
Click send to query.
Yeah.
Click run.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, that looks reasonable. Oh, not found. Okay. Yeah. So your resolver's not working.
Yeah. And I can confirm, right, that that is also not working in the REPL. So oops, no, I'm sorry.
Okay. So how did you set up your parser?
Yep. Oh, and by the way, you showed me in the Fulcro channel, like you have a way that of doing resolvers so that they don't need to restart the parser. Here, let me show it.
Yeah, that's actually built in now, I think.
Ooh,
If you use the
Def
well,
instead
if
of
you use, hold on, that may be something I only use in my own projects. Yeah, let me I think I've got that just in my own projects. Let me look.
you even posted the code though.
Yeah, like the macros.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Let's see here, 5 lies. Okay, so that I'm just gonna do what I'm gonna.
And are you using auto-generated resolvers? Because those should work for this case.
So okay, yeah. So I'd love to achieve two things. One is if I hear it correctly, I can start replacing this the Pathome resolvers with def adder resolvers, and that will have a benefit of potentially reducing need to restart the parser. Is that
no, that's not the case. In fact, I almost never use this support.
Oh, okay. So in fact, okay, let me read you all my questions and how do I load in the form elements? Yep, we talked about that. How do I get full use of def adder, right? Clearly, like there's inferred queries. You know, it's a thing. You talk about it in the front page of the repo. I'm actually a little bit stunned at how little I actually need to put into the resolver. Like the whole bunch of fields that I actually don't put in as outputs. And I know that's burned me in the past. I don't know when it's necessary to put stuff in the output. And
so if you output it, you should list it, but you shouldn't output anything that another resolver can do for you unless you're trying to optimize.
So if it's a field that it returns, you should expose it in this output, PC output thing. Is
Right.
that-
So for example, the way I do this, the way I compose, or in general, the way you're supposed to compose resolvers is some top level all thing would typically return the keyword for all of them and just the ID,
Ah,
right?
okay.
And then there would be a separate resolver that would say, if you give me an ID, I can give you all this stuff,
Yeah.
right? And it would support batch mode so that it could read all those with one single query. It wouldn't have to like run multiple queries against whatever database. Now, what database are you using?
XTDB in this case.
Okay, and I've not tried XTDB using I guess somebody wrote a Fulcro Rad XTDB plugin.
Yep.
Okay, does it have resolver generators?
I think it does.
And are you using them?
No, because I barely know what they are.
Okay, so the RAD model, if you've annotated it correctly, the database adapter should be able to figure out, if you give me the ID of an entity, how to get the items that are on an entity, right? That's trivial, right? So
They've been defined up here.
yeah, you've defined all the attributes. How come it didn't resolve your, did you enter that resolve as?
Okay, I don't have a resolver for a single company.
No. I'm saying defatter still isn't known as a macro that defines things. You still have a bunch of red underlines. Oh, are you using hold on. Are you using condo?
I am.
Okay, so go to the condo config at the top of your project.
Would.
How come it's not there?
I think it's in a higher level one here, standby. Because this is part of a 3 kind of recursive projects. So
Oh,
yeah, so show open in Finder. Go up one level.
whatever project you've got open in IntelliJ, this ETL viewer Fulcro
Yep, that's this.
is where I would expect to see the dot condo.
Yeah, actually, me
So you've
too.
got the closure extras plugin installed.
I do.
Go to back to IntelliJ and go to your preferences. And fine, scroll down to the bottom. Oh, closures. There you go. Oh, is there a 2023 317 reprint redirect? Is it using maybe a global CLJ condo? How do you create a CLJ condo config? I don't remember.
I don't remember either. Actually,
Just a second. So you're at a terminal. Oh crap! I need to turn off my annotating so I can actually use my mouse.
oh, I think I remember learning about how to do this, and I was actually stunned at.
You just make a directory in a file, I think, but here I can just give you.
Yeah.
So make a .clj condo directory.
Make their CLJ -condo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Oh wait, it's there. Hang on.
it
Wait.
is. How are we not seeing it? That says Fulcro Rad demo. Fold that closed. Fold that guy. Oh, what the hell? How come it says ETL viewer Fulcro? I don't understand what you're doing here.
Oh. I'm sorry. I'm in the wrong. CLJ ETL viewer Fulcro. Got it. Okay. Fulcro Rad demo. Maker. All right. Yep.
Okay, and create a file called um, config.eden.
Okay.
And then shoot, I know there's a way to create this without.
Yeah. In fact, I posted it here, I think.
Because you want it to pull in the sub library configs as well.
Regardless of the things that, right. Do I do it? CLJ condo, copy configs, dependencies.
There we
links.
go. That's it.
Do I do it in the directory above here?
No, I think you do it. Yeah, exactly. CD dot. Yeah. Old seashell user, huh?
It's Z shell.
Oh, is it Z shell now? Okay. All right.
Yeah,
I still
it's
use bash.
on a Mac. They took it away.
No, it's still on. It's still there.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. So now go back to IntelliJ, and I think there will be the directory there. And if you go back to that namespace with the model,
Oh,
there we go. Phew.
oh, okay. That's
All right.
cool. Okay.
Okay. Now let's go to your path home namespace.
Hang on. I guess I gotta take
Okay.
a moment. Miscellaneous, okay. Yes, I'm back. Yeah.
All right. So go to your path home namespace. Oh, maybe it's parser. I don't remember what it's called in there. Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so automatic resolvers. What is automatic resolver? Okay. Do this resolve as for def state as well.
Ew. Resolve as
As def. Yeah, that was a def as well.
okay.
And I don't know if CLJ Condo knows that one or not. We'll find out. Who's telling you the error? Okay, so this is where you would go to the config file for Condo. You kind of have to do this twice anytime you're using IntelliJ and the extras. You have to go to the config. Oh, it didn't add any. All right, let me give you some. My mouse, damn it. So start out with, here, I'll put this in Slack. Start out with that.
How do you
and maybe add these two. And got def adder already. Where's mount core def state? Add that for def state. So basically this just tells Condo, when you use macros, what those macros are pretending to be.
Yep.
Out of something it already knows. Right.
Oh.
And that'll fix all those errors for you. And now you'll be able to jump to them as well. Now you might need to do if it's yellow, you might need to do the resolve as well for IntelliJ. Yeah, resolve that as def.
Resolve.
No, yeah. Not parser, def state.
Def state.
Click on def state. That's the one you want to do it to. Just do a Command Shift A resolve as. Okay. Oh, right. You can't do it until it's finished indexing because you told it to. There you go. Resolve def state as def. Okay, so now, see how automatic resolvers is no longer yellow?
Yeah.
That's because it was another def state, but now you can jump to it. So if you click on it, you can just jump to it, right? And this has XTDB, generate resolvers, all okay. Now, did you put the schema production on your company? You must have,
I
or it would have
did.
generated
In fact,
schema.
only in an attempt to a half-hearted attempt to try to get this to work. Yes.
Yes. Okay. So it should be generating resolvers.
Well, I did it only for a couple.
Oh, no, you have to do it for every attribute that's in the database, or else they won't even end up in the database. Oh, wait. Are they in the database? See, that's the other thing, was where's this guy coming from? Is it in XTDB?
It is.
How is it in XTDB then?
Okay, stand by.
Are
I
you
had gotten
feeding the database manually?
Am I say that again?
Are you seeding and setting up the database manually for XTDB? Did you manually make a schema and manually put your data in it?
Yes.
Okay. So you're missing one big feature of RAD, and that's that this plugin would have generated the schema for you.
Okay, let me tell you what I mean, how I'm interpreting manually setting up schema. So basically, there's just a crap load of clerk notebooks that I've used, like ETL stuff in,
Yep.
and so I'm and like very exploratory, just shoving stuff in, occasionally rewriting it. The namespace keywords are inconsistent, so I'm sort of patching them up enough to get me to the next stage.
Okay.
So how are they actually getting into the RAD app? It's I was going to what I've done.
You're missing a lot of goodness.
Okay.
Doing what you've done.
Okay.
So by doing these get alls where you just return the entire like tree of crap manually, right? You're having to do these, crazy like manual writing of all your code. You don't need to write any of this stuff. What you need to do is annotate your schema in def adders so that the schema is the schema name. All right, so let me tell you the basic layout of how the database adapter works.
Yeah.
So the overall concept of architecture is that your data is in something, right? And there could be multiple somethings. You could have an XTDB database, a Postgres database, a Redis cluster, and you need to be able to query. The whole beauty of a namespaced keyword query language that's a graph is any portion of that graph that you ask for could come from any of those data sources.
Okay.
Right? Now, from a production standpoint in scalability, you might have multiple database servers with the same kind of data on them, right? You might shard, right?
Okay.
It's like this account's on that database, this account's on that other database over there, but they're the same schema.
Okay.
Okay. So when you put a schema on an attribute, you're naming the schema of the database that would be used, and that's intended to map to a possible group of databases that all store the same kind of data.
Yep.
In your case, it's just XTDB.
Okay.
Okay. Now, in the plugin for the database, you handed a function, and that function gets called with the current pathom end, which is going to have like the incoming request in it. And you're supposed to return the schema keyword and a connection to the database that the data that request can be resolved from. And that lets you do sharding, right? So you look at the request and say, oh, it's this account, therefore it's that instance of that XTD database, right? Versus that account, it's this other one. For your app, you just have one, right?
Yeah.
So it's just the same connection every time.
But where would the kind of conditional logic of like, oh, it's this server versus that server for sharding, where would that live?
That would live in if you go to your parser namespace, go back to your parser. Right. This function, let's see now, where's the database plugin? Blob XTDB pathom plugin. This function right here.
Yeah.
Right. There's your schema, and there's the connection
Right.
that should be used for that schema. And that env
Yeah.
is whatever your pathom env has in it. And one of the things that you can easily add to your env is the network request, right? So you could use that to choose databases. In this case, it's
Right.
just a constant function, right? You could have just said here constantly and that map and right. But it's more, it's about the same amount of typing, right? It's so that's the two layers you've got here for the database plugin is which schema, right? Gets me to my realm of data that I'm talking about. And then this function gets you from the realm to the specific concrete database connection.
Yep.
Okay.
Tracking.
All right. So now this plugin also knows when you go to generate the resolvers. So let's go back to your auto resolvers.
That we meant.
I'm clicking over here. There was an auto resolvers component.
Okay. Automatic resolvers.
Yeah, jump to that. Yeah. Right. This XTDB generate resolvers says, oh, go through all the attributes and find the ones that are for the production schema and build pathom resolvers to be able to pull that data.
Okay.
So if the attribute isn't marked with production, it doesn't generate a resolver.
Yeah.
Right. Now, just for fun, put your cursor at the end of that, just this one form, and evaluate it, and you can see the exact resolvers it generates. Right. So it's saying I've got a video library ID resolver that could take as input. Where's the input? A video library ID. And I know how to output valid company name and description.
Yeah.
Because I guess those are the three attributes that you've marked as production.
Yes.
And then it wrote a function for you that's part of this, this guy's adapter that's supposed to be able to do that query for you.
Okay.
And so that's why I said, if you go over to the EQL tab in Fulcro, that you should be able to, if that guy's in a database, you should be able to hit run on that and it should just work.
Right. So,
okay. So now the question is, why doesn't it work? Are the attributes named correctly? Is company -name the actual XTDB name of that attribute?
Okay. All right. So this is ugly and hacky, and maybe this might be the. How do I? So let's see here. Hang on a second. Companies.
Like if you were to do a query right now.
Yeah.
On the database, just a DQ, find pull star on things that have video library IDs, what would you get?
I'm not sure. See, I'm actually patching them in.
Oh crap.
Yeah. Okay, here, let me show you what you actually would get.
Okay, so your database schema doesn't match the RAD model schema.
But
that's a big problem.
Yeah. Hang on, stand by. What is it really? Yeah, so what is it really? It's these company it's a company name. It's a non-namespaced. It's a type and some votes. All right, so this actually exists.
And where's the ID of the thing?
ID is this. It's a map. XTID.
Oh geez. Is that normally how?
Yeah, so XTID is this is kind of the way you reference into, is like typically the way you do it is a map. So it's kind of a unique ID. So it's not a UID, it's it's a map of a type and an ID.
Okay. I mean, I'm imagining that the plugin would understand that.
Okay.
The problem is RAD strongly discourages simple keywords. And so
Yeah.
you having these simple keywords in here makes it more difficult to use any of the automatic functions of RAD. You're really sort of hurting yourself.
So I'm not. Wait.
So
Okay, so can we? Okay, I can actually rewrite the days just to accommodate that, and that would take
Mhm.
like 10 minutes or less. But I would say the ID is XTID. Is there a way to be able to say?
Well, I'm imagining that if that's the standard in XTDB, that his plugin already knows to do that. We could
eh,
go look at his source code. I mean, it's simple enough, right? Jump back to auto resolvers.
wrong one.
And then jump to that generate resolvers.
Okay.
Jump to that guy. Let's see now, ID resolver. I didn't give you encore if lit. Let me hand you that one. Another one you don't have in your.
All right.
I thought I did. Oh no, I did. You just didn't copy and paste it in.
If let.
What is it? Oh, we put it in condo. We didn't, you don't have it in IntelliJ. Tell it to resolve it as a let. There you go. That'll fix those. Yeah, anytime you see that happening, basically just tell the macro it to resolve as something that looks like something Clojure already knows about, and that'll fix the
Sweet.
highlighting. Okay, so he's saying resolve symbol with resolve symbol, inputs, outputs, PC resolve. Okay, so here's the input. Input assoc.env entity query. So let's go look at his entity query function. All right, so blah, 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 default query IDs. All right, if it's to 1, get input qualified key. So it's going to look for, in this case, the whatever video library ID, it's going to get Swift out of that, right? So the ID is going to be Swift. Blah, blah, blah.
You said Swift.
Yeah, over here.
Yes.
Right. So ID would be Swift. All right, so then let's go to get by IDs. All right, so find blah, 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 blah. But the query is going to take, these are your strings, right? So it's going to be Swift, basically. So Swift ... and it's going to say account XTID Swift, and that's not going to work, right?
Yeah.
Unless he patched it back here, which doesn't look like he did. Oh no, he did. The IDs. He patched them right here. He put the qualified key. He made the IDs into idents. So the keyword's actually there. So will that work if XTDB ID is a vector of these two things? It's not, because yours isn't called that. It's called company. It's not called video library ID.
Right.
Right. Stuff's just not going to match up. But this is how you could figure out if his code's going to work for you. And if it doesn't, you're just going to have to manually write it.
Yeah. Hang on. Just give me a second to connect the dots here. Okay, so how do I? Yeah. So we have an XTID that's not a vector; it's a map.
Mm-hmm.
And is that good enough? Does that?
I don't know. I don't know XTDB, so I can't tell you. Although the XTDB, the author of the library knows that XTID exists, and they know. Do you make this a map, or is it always a map?
You make it a map. It can be anything.
And so he's been making them vectors. You made it a map.
Yes.
So that's the difference, is he's expecting that these will be stored. And that's going to be true for the form save plugin part of it too. So you're not going to get forms to work without restructuring your database.
Yeah.
You're going to have to fix it to match what his plugin wants you to do. Or you're going to have to manually write a new plugin. One or the other.
And based on what you saw, he's expecting it to be
it's a vector. He's doing it as vectors.
Right, of a qualified key. What's
that's going to be your video. That's going to be this ident. Basically, he's using the ident as the ID, which makes sense, right? That's how Fulcro does it to normalize it. Why not do that in XTDB as well?
Right. And in this case, the ident is video library ID and
Swift. Although in your database, you've called it company name and then the string. Right. So yeah, so you're going to have to follow his conventions for that database plugin to work for you.
Got it.
And the same thing's going to be the case for the saving the forms. His database adapter is not going to work for you unless you change your data to match his choices.
Yep, I'm still parsing. One second here. So an ident. So it's basically an ident. The XT ID. If you can make an ident.
He's using just Fulcro idents as the IDs.
It's pretty great. Okay.
Which makes sense. Yeah, it's the best idea.
So I would have to rewrite. I would have to copy every record into a new XTID, get rid of the old XTID.
If you want to, I mean, they can be there, but they're not going to be used.
And if I do that, then everything will be wired so that
the automatic code will just work. Yeah.
Okay. So,
which will save you a whole lot of work.
Right. Okay. Stand by. In fact, maybe. Okay, I want to do it. Okay.
You want to do it while I'm on the phone, or
yeah, or we take a little break, maybe a 30-minute break.
Yeah, that makes sense. So your task at hand. Let me write down the time so I can keep track of what we're doing. I want to call that person back anyway. So it's 1:45. Here's what you need to do. You need to make your database exactly match the RAD schema names that you've used in your RAD schema. So over in like your company's namespace, huh?
Okay, right. Match. Convert company records. That's starting with it, right?
Sure.
To exactly match XTDB adapter. That means
and that's really the RAD schema, right? The what you've told it in your whatever you called it, company namespace, I guess, your model company.
Yep.
Right. You said company slash name was the primary key. Right.
Stand by.
Sure.
I wish selection worked.
Yeah. You can always do a command A, although that's everything.
Okay, let's see here. Okay, so so my task is XTID goes from map to vector of let's just change it to what's supposed to be, which is company ID by name.
Company name is the identity. Just a second. Just a second. I've got a time sensitive question that's just going to take
And it's down.
Okay, so look at your company namespace.
Yep.
And you said company name is the identity. So,
Yep.
So company name Swift needs to be the XTDB ID.
Wait,
right? It has to match the model, right? So if you go look at your model, you said company name is the identity property, and therefore that's what the ident is going to be generated from.
And then can I just say ID just to make my life
Absolutely. You can change the IDs to be that. Yes. If you look, my bet is you could use UUIDs and assign them random UUIDs on creation, and then you'd actually have unique IDs for them and wouldn't have to worry about name collisions on your company names.
Actually, I want the names to be singular.
Okay.
And then
the other thing about using strings as IDs is they're less efficient, but whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Because it's got to do a string comparison on every entry in the index.
Literally my least problem.
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
so
good. Okay, that's
XTID goes to that, and then make sure your fields match the model fields that are declared.
Yep. Okay.
And that will get us a generator resolver, and then you can see how that works, and then we can extrapolate from there to see how it's going to work if you fix all the other things. Are these nested embedded objects like the NAICS label and NAICS? Those guys?
No, actually, those are joins. Those are being pulled in. So this is actually
so they're not embedded in the document. They're actually separate entities that have their own IDs.
Yep.
Same problem with those though, right?
What?
They've got an XTD, they've got an XTID that may or may not match what you've called an identity, and you're putting maps in there instead of idents. So all your IDs have to be idents.
Yeah. So maybe I'll make you know what? In fact, instead I'm gonna copy. Let's make this company 2. And then we're gonna do
can you just make a new database and just copy the data from one to the other? Then you don't have to worry about stomping on old data.
Maybe that's actually more than I can stomach right now.
Yeah.
NAICS 2. Okay.
Yeah. If you do that, then of course you're going to have to update your model rad files to use those names.
Yep. All right. Let me see how far I can get. In fact, can we meet at the bottom of the hour?
That's fine. I'm going to go eat lunch or something and
love it. All right, cool. This is
progress.
This is awesome as I had hoped.
All right.
I'll catch you in 40 minutes ish. I'll ping you on Slack.
That works. Talk to you then.
All right. Thank you.
Welcome.
Later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Like everything works now.
Well,
or more works at least for sure.
Yeah. Can I show you what I did? And I'm not inclined to spend too much time on this, but so I did company 2.
Okay.
Which so XTID is actually has to be a map or keyword, string, integer UID, a map, but it cannot be a vector.
Okay, so are XTIDs allowed to use lookup refs like Datomic uses? In which case you would put a vector of, or would you?
It's another XTID. Yeah, it's another XTID. It would be a map. Yeah, it's basically it's like a map that's allowed to be the entity thing. So that didn't quite work.
Okay, so you said something worked. So what worked?
And actually, you know what? I just realized, here, let me just do something real quick. Company to ID. No. Name is company name. That will work. Okay, let me just do something real quick. Okay. So this one didn't work, but I just kind of realized why. This one, on the other hand, using
You
these
didn't call it
UUID,
company ID though, did it? Oh, okay, there we go.
that worked. Right, exactly. In fact, if I guess that would also work. I
Well,
mean,
try it. I mean, that was how you intended to do it, right?
yeah. Yeah, no, I got it wrong. Yeah, no, totally. That also should work. When the okay, so that's amazing, Tony.
Well, but I'm not sure it is amazing yet because I'm not sure you've got. I mean, is anything new working as a result?
Well, no, I'm sorry. The query for the first time actually works.
Ah, okay.
The
Let me look at his documentation and see what he says. Configuration, blah, 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 blah.
I mean, to be clear, this query.
I mean, he's using it against the Fulcro RAD demo, which uses UUIDs for entity IDs. So he's using my existing model.
Yep.
Like he doesn't do anything different about the model. And then when he seeds things, he puts the UUID in as XTD ID and as, in this case, account ID. So XTD ID would be the company name, and then account, or sorry, company name would also be an attribute on the entity that you put in XTDB, according to what it looks like he's doing.
So my hypothesis is that I can stick any map in there. Okay, for example, Tony, as you can see, this query now works in the EQL Explorer.
Mm-hmm.
So that's flipping awesome.
Okay.
Just to satisfy
so whatever you did,
yeah,
aligned it with the his plugin, his database plugin.
yeah. And I guess my question is, and let me just time box this to 5 minutes. Just again, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but company to name. Let's do Morgan Stanley. I mean, shouldn't that work? Company to name. So yes, the XTID is this kind of other thing, but I don't.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't query by that,
Well, try querying by it. Oh no, you're saying you can't.
if that doesn't work.
Yeah. So what did you tell the RAD model?
Yeah.
Let me see your company 3 or company 2 or whatever you've done for your namespace.
ID is.
Is it ID or is it name?
Oh. Yes. I'm gonna get rid of a bunch of stuff. Okay, so the ID is now a name. It's a name.
Well, no. This is you're going to confuse everything. Don't just willy nilly hack little things into place. You have to understand what's going on here.
Yeah, I think.
So if you look at line, yeah, see, because you can't just change one thing like that. That's not going to. It's just never going to work. And here's why.
Copied the wrong thing. Hang on.
Each one of your child attributes in the resolver is known both by a schema and which identity it's said to come from. So if you just make company name and identity, then you have to go through and change these to say identity's company name, right? That's how they get grouped.
Right. Actually,
Which I guess you'd already done.
yeah, I think this. Here, stand by. This is my little experiment. Oops. Start. Okay, so this will still work. This will work. Yes. And will this work? Ugh, no.
So why does the ID one work? That's company 3. What's
Yeah.
company 3?
I made another thing here where ID. I load the data differently so that it matches the example that he gave, where there's a UID for ID and for XTID. And
But you didn't specify it as a UID, you specified it as a string.
Does that matter?
No, it's working clearly.
Yeah.
So yeah, so this one's going to be fine if what you've put in the ID is the company's name. Is that what you put in the
ID? No, I put it in.
Oh, I see. In the company ID field, you put some generated UUID string.
Yep.
You could have put the name there. That would have been fine.
Oh. But
right, the keyword name has no special meaning. This tells it that it's an identity.
Interesting.
It's the use of the maps that's going to screw you up. So what did you do on the company 2 entities? What do the raw entities look like? What does the raw company 2 entity look like?
Yeah, company 2 name looks like a ID is a
map, right? And see, that's not going to work.
No, in fact,
if you made that the string Morgan Stanley, then that would be okay.
Right. Okay, here's my, okay, this is actually so helpful. So I think, in fact, now I realize what I screwed up here.
Yeah, you made a map here, right? You shouldn't have a map here.
Well, no, I think that has to be a map.
The docs didn't say it had to be a map.
Well,
if you make it a map, it's not going to work. I guarantee it's not going to work as a map. There's no question in my mind that if you make that a map, it will not work. Unless you rewrite the database adapter, because the database adapter doesn't ever expect a map there.
I see.
What did the doc say? The doc said it could be a UUID, a map, but it didn't say it could be a string. Is that what you're saying?
I think it'd be a string, yeah.
String, yeah. Just put a string in there. Don't make it a map.
I thought I actually put this as a map. My hypothesis is that I could turn this to a map and it would work. The XTID.
No, make it a string. This one works. This one doesn't work because it's a map.
Do you think?
Yes, absolutely. I think. I very, very strongly suspect.
Oh, okay, but I don't want that. Like, there's no universe where, like,
I mean, there's no universe. I don't understand.
There's no. Sorry, that namespace of that. Like, I can't restrict it to. There's a string. It has to be a sort of a.
Yeah. So in my opinion, if you're doing this right, these should be UUIDs that you generate when you make the rows.
Yeah.
So you can uniquely identify the entity.
Yep.
And then if there's a way, you can always search, right? All the attributes are indexed. You can always search by name.
Yeah.
Right. There's an index on name. It's just not the primary key.
Yeah. So you're saying do that. ID and the name can be the same thing.
No. XTD ID needs to be the same as this ID. And I don't really think you need to. I don't think you have to include that. That doesn't seem like, that seems redundant and unnecessary to me.
So what is
his adapter? Technically, his adapter should have a thing that will morph XTD ID into the key that you tell it is. So you shouldn't have to reify that onto the database. We could look at the driver and see. That's what my driver does for Datomic. Because :dbid, you could use that as the native ID, but you still have to give it a namespaced keyword in RAD. Yeah. But then RAD, the plugin automatically maps between the two. It says, oh, DBID, I'll call that account ID, or I'll call that company ID in this particular case.
Got it. So my question is, like, if I want like upsert, like upsert a record, based on the company name. That means I always have to do the query.
Yep.
And then.
Well, so I don't know how XTDB works. In Datomic, you can mark in the schema company name as unique identity, and then you can use it as a lookup ref, and then you don't have to do what you just said. You can just use that as the ID. You can use the vector as the ID. My guess is in XTDB, it probably has a similar feature.
Roger. Okay, so time's up on that. We have a working query, which is like flipping awesome. Just to sort of show you, we have a company 3 query. Run the EQL.
Let's see. If you fix up your data, your form's just going to work.
That's amazing. Wow. Okay. It's amazing. But by the way, just to pause for a second. And it's not, I didn't even have to write a resolver. Well, no, I probably do now.
You don't. You have to write the all resolver, but all it has to do is return the IDs, which is a really easy query, right? Give me all the company IDs.
Yeah.
Right. DQ, whatever,
Yeah. Okay, got it. Let's do that next.
Right. And then you return a list of maps with the IDs in them. And then the next resolver down the chain will run this step and fill in the rest of the details in batch mode for you.
So everything else I've written, I actually kind of bypassed the automatic resolvers, and I just use the all thing to grab all the data. So that's why I use to use local,
which you can do. You can do that. The problem is if you don't get the data aligned, then the generated save code won't work for you either.
Yep. Okay, got it. Okay, so in 30 minutes, can we okay, this is awesome. Super happy. So the payoff will be if we can change the form now, right? We're going to new closure namespace. We can call it company 3 forms.
Okay.
Form. Yeah. I gotta tell you, you turning me on to the Vim plugin is a life changer for me.
Yeah, same for me. Yeah.
I think it's actually exacerbated my carpal tunnel something. But
yeah, you and me both. The mouse does it to me more than the keyboard. So
let's replace companies with company 3. Let's replace.
You can do that with a refactoring and
whatever. Okay, let's see if what happened here.
Do not leave the shadow UI running in the browser.
I don't. Let's move to the other screen. So let's get the report running again.
Well, now you got all company 3.
Yeah. So we need an all resolver to work. And then just the IDs.
Yes. And then all you need to do is write a function that
get all companies. Nope.
there it is. You're on it. Hmm. And here you're just going to do an XTQ. Does Q and XT have a colon keys support?
It maybe.
So you're going to say, you're not even going to do a poll. You're just going to find
Oh,
a single thing. You're going to find the ID.
yeah. Find UUID. Find.
Okay, so their syntax is a little different than Atomic. Is that the?
Yeah, let's see here. So find E. In
Oh, you're using the map notation. I see. And you don't have to put a question in front of that.
no. We just need to do that.
What's that mean? That's new to me.
Where the entity is a type company. Just I think that's going to work.
And then if it supports keys, you could say keys company 3/ID, I think is the,
Oh,
right?
keys.
You needed to return a sequence of maps that look like.
So can I just do a poll?
No, you don't want to do a poll. Oh, yeah. You could do a poll if you've got the company ID in there, if it's reified, but if it's not reified, then you need to rename it.
I think this is going to work.
Not star, just the thing you need. Full star, you're already pulling everything.
Oh, like what's so bad about star?
You're doing a lot of extra work right there. That may not be, I guess it's fine. It's fine. The whole point was you want to, if you do it just the polls of the IDs, it can walk a single index and give you all of the results. And that's a very fast query. And then you can let the next resolver down do the actual individual polls.
Okay.
Which will do your linkages, which I thought was what we were trying to show was working.
Yeah, I don't have the I don't have the joins. I didn't do the other records.
Exactly. So I mean, I would suggest looking at the demo again, because I think everything you need to know is in there. It's just I think you're just missing the idea that resolvers are meant to be done piecemeal, right? One layer at a time.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Oh, wait. Okay, so you're before I said we just return E, and you're saying
Okay. I don't know XTDB.
Yep,
So I can tell you what I would write in Datomic, but I can't tell you what you'd write in XTDB. I assume they're similar. I don't know if they're identical.
Yep.
Here's what I write in Datomic. Do you know Datomic as well?
Yeah.
Okay. I would write Datomic client or on-prem.
Client.
Okay. So client. I would write a D/Q with a find of $E. On the next line, I'd say colon keys company 3/ID. And on the next line, I'd say where $E colon company 3/ID.
Okay, got it.
That's what I'd say in Datomic. And then that would give me a sequence of maps that have just the IDs, but with the right keyword name in the maps.
Right.
And that would come straight from the EAVT index and would be a very fast query.
Yeah. Can you just repeat that one more time? Find E.
$E or E in this case, I guess.
Yep.
And then I'd add a colon keys entry to the map and say colon company 3/ID. And I don't know if XTDB supports that. Limit offset rules, timeout, keys. Sims for Sims. But is it allow namespace keys?
Let's assume yes.
Yeah. Right.
Keys.
Company 3/ID. No, you don't need anything else. Just that's all you get, right? That matches up with E.
Yep.
And then I'm not sure why the type thing. Why can't you
Oh,
just, I don't know what this type thing is.
to restrict the entities of which are only type of company 3, but I guess you're saying that
So what is the type in that's a thing in XTDB?
someone told me that's a good way to, like, basically what's being stored is an XTID and then these keys, and so this is a way to restrict the
You've already got this,
right.
right? Company 3 ID only exists on company 3 entities. Why add extra data to your database? That's just silly.
Okay, got it.
Right. So this where clause, you still need a where clause. It should be where E company 3 ID and then no V.
Got it. Where
Right.
Company 3 ID and then
And nothing.
Got it.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
So find me all the things that at least have that attribute, and only your company 3s will have that attribute.
Okay.
That is already a type marker.
Right. All right. So
and then return that return value. That should be your return value. If that, you might want to, no, it's not. You have to put it in a map that says, oh, no, you don't. You're doing that at the layer above. Right. So yeah. So just like ret val is you're done. That's all that function is that query.
don't I need to, okay. You think I don't even need
You
to
could turn it into a vector. If it doesn't come back as a vector, you should turn it into a vector. But other than that, but you can just use vec to do that right in your thread.
I feel like I need a map first in there, but
Here.
What?
Oh, no, the keys fixes that.
Ooh.
Because instead of returning tuples, it returns maps with these keys, which is what you want.
Okay, so what is
So yeah, that's your whole function. So there's a lot of cruft in there, but
all right, speaking of, yeah, I look forward to purging it. So I'm the way I've gotten used to the way I've gotten used to testing.
You have to deref that or something.
Okay, what am I doing wrong here?
No limitation. Query didn't match expected structure.
Yeah, I think this query ran.
And you don't need question marks on the variables.
Yeah, that's correct.
And do you want to right thread that instead of left threading it? Or is the DB first? DB is the first argument? I guess it is. Okay. I thought the doc said it would take the keys.
Stand by.
Maybe you need to put an underscore in for a V there. Maybe it doesn't allow. Well, you did it there.
Expected structure. You're right. Okay, this query worked.
All right, so put company 3 ID here and run this one again. Let's do a process of elimination, right? Is it okay to do that? I would expect it. All right, you have 539 companies.
Right.
So company 3 ID, you don't need the underscore. Comment out the keys.
Ooh.
Yep, that's the problem, is keys doesn't work for some reason. Take the colon off, uncomment the semicolon and take the colon off of that. Because in the docs, it didn't show a colon. Try that.
Yes.
There we go. Which is stupid, but okay.
All right.
So fix it up there.
Yeah. By the way, is this kind of how you would also test this in place, or like something like this?
Sure. Yeah. If I was just playing around trying to figure out what the right query is. I mean, if I were writing this function, I've got test fixtures that will start a test database for me, run code, and then delete the test database. So I can write a unit test for that very quickly. And then I've got a permanent test for it as opposed to just a one-time, one-shot thing.
Okay, someday. All right.
Hmm.
So I just need to call that from the
Yep, from your resolver.
first. I think that works. And then this is going to return a company 3, all companies.
Is that right? Yep, company 3, all companies. Yep.
And then if I do,
And it said company 3 ID on the other one. Yep. Okay. And then you loaded stuff up.
oh, so someday, maybe at some point, you can show me how to do it so I don't have to restart the resolver all the time.
If you make a new resolver, you're going to have to restart. It's just if you change the resolver, the macro I sent you, and you've got the code for it, would fix that.
Can you say that one more time? So you sent me the code. So if I add a new resolver, I have to restart it.
If you add a brand new resolver, you have to restart it because the existing parser doesn't even know about that resolver, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have a dynamic list of resolvers. It's a static list. The macros I wrote emit a function that has the real resolver in it and another a resolver that just calls the function. And so when you reevaluate that, it redefines the function, which the existing thing that was closed over by the parser is what's called, right?
Yep.
And so that's how you get the hot code reload out of it.
Got it.
And you could do that manually, right? And in fact, you just did it, really, right? Because you have a resolver that doesn't do anything but call a function.
Yep.
So you've actually got exactly what it does. Pretty close.
Pretty close.
If you change if you change the inputs and outputs, you also have to reload because Pathom has to rebuild its internal indexes to work right.
So what's the difference between what I'm doing and what you've done? Like what's the
What
delta?
I'm doing, I can write the code in the resolver, and when I reevaluate the resolver,
Yeah,
it works because I'm just pulling that out and having it write a arbitrarily named function for me as opposed to having to write that separate function manually.
I'll take it. Yeah, no, that's awesome.
That's the difference. Okay, so you've got that. Hold on. So my parse company, all companies. What did that give you? Company, all companies.
Video library. No, wait, that's not right. Oh, wait.
Doesn't look right.
This.
Company 3, all companies.
Yeah.
There we go. Now change that to a join and put company name in the subquery. Yeah, right there. Wrap that in curly braces.
Okay.
Yeah. And then put a vector of the subquery right over here. No. Don't make it a vector. Raise that.
Hang on.
Or splice now.
Hang on. I can't see. Like that.
Exactly. And then what do you want out of the companies, right? So like company / name, or company 3 / whatever, description or whatever.
And see 2-digit code. Did I screw that up? Company. Wait, company.
It only found 3 of them. Or was that a different thing?
It has a name.
I'm not sure what you evaluated. Oh, and you're saying take 3. Okay, so most of them don't have names.
That's odd.
Did you put that in the ID field? Maybe you didn't do this. I don't know how much what of this you had done before or after.
Stand by.
And in the RAD model, did you mark company 3 ID as a production schema?
Names. Yes, two. They may not all have IDs. I didn't have time to clean it up. So, okay, let's do company.
What's missing?
Name.
Oh, it's just called name?
Yeah. And you know what? I just
Or
realized.
was it called company name? I just like lost track of it.
Yeah, I'm I figure I'm just taking out
Yeah.
name.
Yeah, a little bit of chaos going on here in the naming of things.
Yep. This seems like you're a little repetitive. Although, gosh, I hate the fact that name overloads.
Yeah, but you can always do the closure exclude names in the top. And I mean, I typically don't recommend you write anything but the model in def adders. Like don't use the AO whatever stuff there and just make a separate set of namespaces for doing resolvers. Like I have right, like you might have an app resolvers namespace or package resolvers package where each model, like companies, you'd have all the resolvers related to companies, like all companies, and then one for doing paginated companies and one of, and so then the namespace of the keyword is where you go to find the namespace of the resolvers that go with that kind of thing. See what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Just organizationally, because you're going to end up, if you do the PC, the reason I don't use the AO PC resolve is you end up wanting to use support functions, which then use other functions, which require other functions, which then want to require the attributes again, and you end up with circular references. And so it wasn't a good idea. Okay, there you go. It's working now.
Super. All right. So I think the next step is, okay, generate a report that generates a table. Oh my gosh, Tony, I think this is great.
Well, if you just, instead of like, okay, let me pause you for a minute and make a suggestion.
Yep.
If you go back and fix your data so it matches your original company layout in names, in keyword names, right? Give them well-structured IDs, like make UIDs for them, clean up your database. Your original code should work.
Got it. Oh,
right. Instead of like rewriting it all, why rewrite it all? Like your original code was fine. There was nothing wrong with it. It was your data model that was screwed up.
Sweet.
So just fix your database so it's consistent with what you originally wrote, and you can throw away all this company 3, company 2 crap, and
okay,
you're off and running.
So then forms should work.
Yeah, as long as the ID scheme is following what the database plugin expects, form save should just work. Do you have save middleware? I guess you copied it from the example.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you can augment the save middleware to do whatever you need to do, but the default save middleware will just take literally what you hand it and put it back in XTDB under the ID. Via a diff, which I'm imagining in XTDB, since it's a document database, requires reading the document, updating it, and then writing the whole document back. Is that? No. Is it? It is a document database, right? Yeah.
Okay.
So
Give me a second. We're doing great for this 30-minute little increment. So you're suggesting reading all of sort of company 3, rewriting it as the original company. So basically overwrite the
where is this database running? It can be some idea into your hesitance here.
It's in a in a MySQL in Google Cloud. I'm just
the one you're actually using right here as we're playing is a live database.
Yeah.
You're connecting to. It's not just like a local dev database.
Yeah, I should have done it locally with man. Give me a second.
So the connection, I mean, if it works like Datomic, you can just create another database, right? And have two connections, one to the old database and one to the new database, right?
Mhm.
And then just like pull the data out of the old database and write it in the correct format in the new database. And then you can test it on the new database without touching the old database.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's do that. That'd be wait a minute. Okay, before we do that. So before
I'm going to have to go here in about 10 minutes though, Gene.
okay, got it.
Just let me pause you for just a second. Is there something else you want to ask me that's
Yeah.
unrelated to this where you can just do this later? And because this is just an exercise in typing at the moment.
No, actually, this time I just want to think through this one step.
Okay.
So you're saying if I can get the data model. Can you say again how I can just reuse my old report and have that possibly work without
So the old report is using existing attributes that talk about what you've got, right? That's a form. That's not a report.
yeah.
Yeah. So you're just putting these columns in, and by default, the report is flat. And then have you done anything here where you've done a nested weird thing and returned subtrees for the report?
Yeah.
Okay, that's going to continue to be a customization because reports just expect resolvers to be, flat basically. Like your headquarters here, I guess you put like custom EQL on this guy
Actually that's just
or column EQL or something like that. Or are these just custom flat resolvers?
oh, okay. The joins.
You got that, you had that one table that had the joins in it.
Yeah. So how okay, I'm not sure if how would I get the joins? How do joins work in the resolver space?
Well, so it's in the resolver space, it's always a separate, right? They're always separate resolvers, typically, not always. For optimization purposes, sometimes you have a resolver return a whole tree of things, right? Because it's like that's the most efficient way to like query it or whatever. But for composability, what you want is an entity has an ID and then it has ref fields, and those ref fields point to another ID.
Yeah.
Right. And so the resolver for a given entity, it's got a to one, it finds one ID. If it's got a too many, it finds many IDs. And that's all that level does. That one level just finds the IDs of the references.
Yeah.
And then there's another resolver that can take the input IDs from those references and turn them into the attributes that those might want. But if those have references, they just returns the IDs of those, right? So it's a sequence of resolver calls. So all companies returns the company IDs, and then the subquery says, I want company name, company description, and I want this company sub thing. And that first resolver only returns the ID of the reference that's one layer deep.
Got it.
Right. So your all one returns the IDs of the top ones, and then those resolvers return the details, and if there are any refs, just returns the IDs of those, and then the next layer of resolvers gets called, etc. So it just auto composes. You can just pull whatever you want in, right, from anywhere without having to like change your resolver, because each layer is resolved by a separate resolver that was auto generated based on your RAD schema.
All right.
Right.
So what I did is I did a pull, which just grabbed all that, which I could then
Right.
no.
Yeah. But the problem with the pull is unless you're looking at the query that came in and making sure to pull just what the query wanted, you're over pulling from the database, which taxes the database more.
Least of my problems, but yes.
I know. And in XTDB, it's a document database. You get the whole document no matter what. So a pull is really a select keys, right? It's a different performance characteristic. But from a composition standpoint, here's the other thing that buys you. If I have resolvers that can go from an ID to the details of that entity, Then I can write a resolver that says, oh, in this particular case, I can plop the ID of one of those things in this context. And now I can ask for all the details of that thing in this context as well. You can actually flatten the tree.
Yep.
Right.
Got it.
Which is useful in like this context where you're trying to do, something where you might want to include like some child thing in a report as a separate column.
Yeah.
That's like a to-one reference away. You can actually flatten it and make that work easily with the report without having to do any additional work.
Got it. And so, jumping around here a little bit, but so what you're saying is that there's a universe where I could leave this the same, change my file from company 3 back into companies, and then this would just work.
It should just work. I mean, that's the schema that you said you wanted it to be in. Why not make the database match that? And then, right, you don't have to do all this conversion crap, all this renaming of keys and etc.
Very good. So I think we made a good dent into this. Oh, hey, Tony, just reflect. This was such a mind-blowing learning adventure, and I can see the huge payoff of doing this. Could I get on your calendar another time to sort of tackle the rest of the list? And I think part of that will be the joins, and then if I have any trouble with the forms, getting that working, and then all the other kind of peripheral stuff around merging the secrets in it from a different way, blah blah blah.
Right. Yeah. And we're recording, so I'll give you a couple of verbal tips and you can play them back to yourself and pause.
Yeah.
If you get your model lined up with XTDB, you get the RAD model lined up, you got the production schema on all the things that are there. The refs have an AO target that points to the proper ID field of the child, right? So if you actually lay it out so that RAD understands your structure, company has this that points to that via this ID, right? That's what AO target is for. You fix your database so they align, your form will just work. There won't be anything else for you to do. In terms of your keys, your secrets on a config file. Fulcro, where you do the server configs thing, you define that config component and it gives you back the merged. It merges defaults with your current config, and it gives you back an Eden map. That's in the server components or under components config. Right, you've got a config component that's loading the config. Okay, that loaded config. You see how we're merging with overrides. Just merge something else in there. So just load things from your key store in Google. And what I would do is I'm imagining the key store in Google might be like Amazon's, where it's just a flat thing. You can say this thing is that value, this thing, it's like a key value store. Right. Make your keys strings that have slashes in them. Right. And turn those into keywords. And what I do in my production environment is I turn my key store keys into parameter slash and a name. And then so for example, let's say in the key store you say A gets 1. Here what I would do is I'd write a function that pulls from that key store and makes parameter slash A1 in a map. And then I do a closure walk and replace all instances of that keyword with that value. And so then in your config files, like your config Eden files, just put that keyword in places where you want those things to come from that key store. Just parameter slash A, parameter, right? Done.
Sweet. Awesome. Very good. All right. Flipping awesome. I'm gonna stop sharing and I'm gonna stop recording.
All right.
And say thank you.